Well, hello, brothers and sisters. I'm Father Frank Pavone, National Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to another episode in our series of election videos at electionvideos.org to help our fellow believers and our fellow citizens to prepare for the elections of this year. You know, at every Mass, we ask forgiveness of God for what we have done and what we have failed to do. And when it comes to elections and voting, we can sin both ways. A person might sin by voting for someone or some proposal that advances evil and that works against the common good. Or a person might sin in failing to vote and thereby allowing the worst of the alternatives to get elected and take power and do damage. Either way, we are responsible. You know, sometimes people feel like the choices they have are all unacceptable. And of course, we always have to remind ourselves there is no such thing as an election in which we have the choice of a perfect candidate. We're always choosing between one imperfection and another. But the fact of the matter is we can choose and we can often discern the better of the two options or two or more options. We can discern, we can make a judgment about which option is best, and then the morally proper thing to do is to choose the best of the options. When we fail to do so, because we want to sit out an election, when we fail to do so out of frustration with all the choices that we have, when we fail to do so because we think it's not going to make a difference, when we fail to do so because cynicism takes over our mind and heart and we say, never mind this whole thing, I don't want to get involved in the messy business of politics. When we fail to vote, and then as a result, the worst of the two options gets into power, we share responsibility for what happens next. In other words, we cannot escape our electoral responsibility. We may think we're escaping it by sitting out an election, but we're not. Just think of it in simple terms. If 10 people vote for one person and 10 people vote for the other person and you don't vote for either one, your vote makes the difference. And many people added up together make a lot of differences. Many races are very close. The United States bishops wrote in Living the Gospel of Life, every voice matters in the public forum. Every vote counts. You know, there's an interesting list that we publish on our prolifevote.com website of close elections in U.S. history. Let me go through a few of these just again to reinforce the fact that every vote counts. Most notably, of course, in recent history, Governor George W. Bush won the presidency because of 537 votes in a single state, that is Florida. That flipped the election in his favor. The state of New Mexico in that same election got just 366 more votes for Al Gore in his race against George W. Bush. 366. These are not big margins. In the 2012 Iowa Republican caucuses, the initial returns gave Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney a victory by 8 votes. In the final tally, it was actually Senator Rick Santorum who won by 34 votes. These are not massive numbers of tens or hundreds of thousands or millions. Incumbent Republican Mike Kelly defeated Democrat challenger Carl Kasell by 1 vote for an Alaska House seat in 2008. Al Franken took a U.S. Senate seat for Minnesota from incumbent Norm Coleman in 2008 after 2 recounts. Coleman led by 206 votes on the first count, but then Franken led by 225 in the recount, and then by 312 in the third effort. In 2004, Gene Schmidt appeared to have won the Republican primary for the 14th district seat in Ohio by a mere 62 votes. But after a recount, Tom Niehaus was awarded the nomination with 22 more votes and went on to win the general election. There are many more examples of this. The point is that this is not just a political reality. My friends, this is a moral reality. We are responsible for what we have done and for what we have failed to do. And by failing to exercise a vote, we may be failing to advance the common good or failing to prevent a worse thing from happening. You know, sometimes people think of a vote as if it's a philosophical statement that they are making, or something that is supposed to make them feel better. But it is neither. A vote is a very practical thing. It's a transfer of power to someone who will either advance the common good or work against the common good. Again, to quote our bishops, every voice matters in the public forum. Every vote counts. Let's make sure we don't sit out the election. And let's remember, even if we think we should sit it out, we are not escaping our moral responsibility. Even if we do not vote, we share responsibility for the outcome. In the elections of 2018, the midterm elections, do you know how many people voted out of those who were eligible to vote? Just slightly more than half. 50.3 to be exact, 50.3% of eligible voters in the United States in the 2018 midterm elections actually cast a vote. Let's make that different this year. Let's get active, let's participate, let's carry out our moral responsibility. If you want to see more episodes of these election vote videos, just go to electionvideos.org. We invite you to share this information far and wide. Let's help our fellow citizens be well prepared for this year's elections. I'm Father Frank Pavone of Priests for Life. God bless you.